Hey guys, All in Crypto here, and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, for another YouTube video. I hope you've all had a great Saturday. I'm sure some of you probably haven't, given what took place over the past 24 hours within the cryptocurrency space. That is exactly what we're going to be getting into in this video. This is going to be another daily cryptocurrency market update. And the reason for the past 3 months now, just under 3 months, around about 2.5 months, we've been giving daily cryptocurrency market updates where we've not only looked at the realm of crypto, but we've ventured out into the world around us, is because we are affected by what takes place on a macroeconomic level. What you're seeing right now in the crypto space isn't a symptom of how strong and amazing and beautiful the cryptocurrency market is and all the innovation and revolution that's taking place within it. It's a symptom of external markets impacting our market, and the reason being, and I'll show you that again today, we covered it in great detail in yesterday's video. We even spoke about how price is set and what determines it. The reason our market is correlated with the external markets around us is because we have the same institutional money involved, and that's the real big money. And price is determined at a marginal level, at the margin. So that means new money coming in and new money coming out, and that will move the price. And certainly if these institutions, these institutional players, and I'm going to show you something from, you guys know we like to look at coin shares, which is potentially or typically a kind of institutional arm to get exposure to crypto. We've seen outflows. This is because we're in a risky environment given everything that the Federal Reserve is proposing. This is an article I have shown multiple times at this point. We're going to be getting into a number of other things. The IMF chief says Fed rate hikes could throw cold water on a global recovery. Absolutely. The Federal Reserve are in a very tricky situation. So we've got a lot to do. Share this video around. As somebody that's been in this market for as long as I have, these pullbacks are still, they're not painless. Now, I've been here since 2017, which was a curse and a blessing in many respects. Yes, like everybody that's new to the crypto space, I thought that crypto was going to go up forever and I was going to get rich overnight. And then what happened was we fell off the side of a cliff and we played out in that 4-year cycle theory fashion. And then I had to hold through a bear market, which really allowed me the time to learn about the space and to really ignite and strengthen my belief in what's taking place here. That belief hasn't gone anywhere. And in actual fact, it was that experience that completely and utterly changed my life. When everybody was running for the hills and was saying crypto's dead, etc., etc., there's members in my Discord that will attest to all this because they knew me through it all. And some of them, in fact, actually pulled through it. That was the greatest time to be investing. And it's when other people are fearful, you should be greedy, and vice versa. So we're going to talk about a number of things in this video. The market conditions are certainly brutal, but I'm not worried, and you guys know I'm a hodler. I'm going to be hodling through this like I have for the past 5 years because I believe that crypto is on a journey, that it's very early on. So there's a long way to go for this market, and part of that journey is turbulent times which we're currently experiencing. And to really emphasize again the fact that our market is really selling off and having a bit of a bedwet moment, for lack of a better term, is due to the external world around us. This is Amazon. This is Netflix. Netflix, since the start of the year, guys, I mean, we think crypto's bad. Netflix is down 33%. This is in a growth, if you will, stock. The S&P saw a slam down. The FTSE's seeing a slam down, but has obviously held up a little bit better than some of these other stocks, given the fact that within the FTSE, the 100 top stock index, there is a lot of travel and leisure, which, given the state of the variant and so on and so forth, and it maybe not being as bad or whatever's going on there, I've lost track of it at this point. You know, they're seeing a little bit more strength in comparison with some other less correlated to variants and so on and so forth stocks or equities. So there's lots and lots going on. This is a video that I made in August 2020. So this is a long time ago I made this video, and this was after the March sell-off. And the market again decided to sell off. And this was me essentially saying, typical clickbait down there, cryptocurrencies are selling off, warning. And what I was talking about in this video, and the video is up there, I only got 66 views at the time. You can see Bitcoin was just at $11,000, was that this market still had a long way to go, and that with any emerging low volume, speculative, new market, there's volatility. And if you can ride that volatility out, you'll be rewarded. And we've often compared, and we did it plenty of times back when I first started making videos back here, Bitcoin to Amazon. And we'll do that again today. Because it's very, very applicable. And to hold Amazon was not an easy ride, but it rewarded hodlers. And I think crypto offers that same opportunity. And in actual fact, one thing that Bitcoin has shown us throughout its entire life is just how resilient it is and how prone to these sort of pullbacks and then recoveries it is. So to stress again, what the Federal Reserve are doing with tightening, stopping bond buybacks, potentially reducing the balance sheet, is having a headwind against markets, full stop. And markets are adjusting accordingly. And they're looking, there's lots going on with bonds, there's lots going on with the yield curve, which is also a lot of macroeconomic stuff that I'm sure may go over quite a few people's heads, but I would like to do and start to, certainly if we are in a period of downturn, which at the moment it looks potentially like we are going to recover from it. That's something I'm confident of. But again, with any journey, there's twists and turns. What the Federal Reserve are doing is essentially causing a huge downturn in all markets. And if your traditional markets, a stock such as Amazon, which, is a stock with fundamental reasons, it is overpriced. The stock market and everything except for crypto and a few other stocks out there are overpriced. And this was really caused, but there's an argument that they're also not, by what took place in March 2020. You can see Amazon didn't really get that affected by what took place in March 2020, but typically your stocks, got absolutely smashed back in March 2020. You can see this really sharp dip here. You certainly saw it in the S&P. You can see over here. You certainly saw it in things like the FTSE and so on and so forth. I don't even think this chart has or goes back as far, so we'll use this one. You can see that is what took place. We then had a huge inflationary event. You can certainly see March 2020 here, which caused everything to go up in value. That is now getting reined up, and if it had an effect to the one way, it's likely to have an effect to the other. These are all things you've got to take into account. Now, very quickly, why is it that I'm a hodler of crypto? Well, I already said it at the start, I'm a believer in what's attempting to be achieved here. I really do believe in Satoshi's vision. I think cryptocurrencies are going to implement themselves into day-to-day life. And in terms of adoption, we've not even really started yet, guys. That's all still to come. And this is in the same way that I'm talking about Amazon. And if you were a hodler, you'd have been rewarded. This is Amazon in the dot-com boom. There's also a number of other correlated charts in regards to what was happening on a macroeconomic landscape back then that's applicable to what took place today. This was not an easy hold. Certainly, most people wouldn't have been buying it here. And then if you look, you can see some of the drawdowns that ensued throughout. This is a 65% pullback, and as time goes on, you can see frequent 30% pullbacks, 30% pullbacks. But ultimately, given the fact that Amazon was starting to get used, adopted, and gain momentum, it did very well. And even, you can see, even as recently as 2018, it experienced a 36% pullback. And this is a traditional sort of growth stock, if you will. So this isn't going to be an easy ride. If it was, everyone was going to be rich. Markets across the board, correct. Something you need to get your head around. There's still people out there that just believe markets should just continue to go up, and a correction is, every time there's a correction, well, that must be the end of things. Markets correct. They have to. And with this game that's being played with the Federal Reserve, causing that correction, IMF chief came out and spoke about this, and she's totally right. The economy is just starting to recover, but there's also politics involved with all this. For me to try and cram everything in, what I'm trying to do is give you a general overview of what's taking place, give you my view of what's taking place and what I'm personally doing. There's also politics involved in this. You've got the midterms in America. Okay, so if the bottom 40% of people, I'm going to do a Discord community call tomorrow where I'm going to speak to all my Discord members about my outlook on crypto, exactly what's taking place. We're going to be re-going over a lot of this stuff, but in a lot more detail. The midterm elections are taking place. Now, if you have 40% of Americans, and it's far worse in other countries in terms of the wealth inequality, and people, you know, the world is unequal. That's just a fact of life. 40% of Americans don't even have $1,000 in their bank account. So when inflation hits and their wages get decreased in terms of buying power, and that £1,000 gets decreased by 7%, more importantly their wages, because most of them live month to month, so their wages go less far because what they now have to buy, toilet roll for example or whatever, has gone up in price. They lose, and they're extremely unhappy about that. And they're the real losers of inflation, not the people that own assets, not people that own crypto like myself, because we've done very, very well. Let's face it here, guys. We've done exceptionally well. Since the March low, Bitcoin is up 1,600%. I've held altcoins that are in the up tens of thousands of percent. Crypto has done very well, but these people in the bottom 40%, that probably don't have time to look into markets, and it's one reason we created this channel, because I want to help those people. You know, investing is the key, in my opinion, to success, or one of the keys. There's a couple of ways you can make a lot of money. One of them is investing small amounts over a period of time, and your money will then start working for you, etc., etc. But that's for another topic. So you've got the midterms coming up. Biden and the Fed have to appease the people and show that they are tackling inflation with rate hikes. There's a whole nother argument to the fact that whether they can actually successfully raise rates without completely breaking a very leveraged system on debt, because all of a sudden debt just becomes extremely more harder to service. Your mortgage, for example, if you're not on a fixed rate, which you should always be, all my mortgages are on a 10-year fixed rate. That's a lie. Some are on a smaller fixed rate, but 5 years. One's on 3, but it's a small amount. But I always make sure that if I'm taking debt out, it's fixed. Certainly in the periods of low interest that we've seen. Because if something like this happens, what happens if they up interest rates? Again, that also weighs on the bottom half of people. So there's this really balancing act that Jerome's got to play. And he's trying to fight socialism in many ways. In the sense that, we really saw UBI, effectively universal basic income, during the pandemic and so on and so forth. So there's so much going on in a macroeconomic landscape, on a macro landscape. This all affects our market. And in times of uncertainty, people will pull money out the markets, which you're seeing with Amazon, you're seeing it with Netflix, you're seeing it with the S&P, you're also seeing it with the NASDAQ. Show you that very quickly. I don't know how to spell NASDAQ. Can you see this? You're also seeing this with the NASDAQ. People are pulling money out in times of uncertainty in case there is a crash to accumulate at a lower rate. And that's what you see with the stock market time and time again. Whenever there's a dip, people typically will sell your institutions and they'll buy back, knowing that these things are going to continue. And they almost have to continue because money, with the Fed saying they're going to tackle inflation, it's like, I'm trying to think of an example here, but usually examples that I think of are really inappropriate and I probably shouldn't say them on YouTube, so I'm not going to do that. But, money doesn't go away in terms of it doesn't stop inflating. Go and ask your grandparents, and this is why Bitcoin is as relevant today as it ever is and ever will be, because money is going to continue to inflate. There's never going to be a prolonged period of time. The fiat systems are on a path to destruction. If you, and somebody like myself and many of you that follow me daily will know that I've studied currencies throughout history, way back to when we used to use cuneiform tablets in Mesopotamia to account money, etc., etc. They've usually all failed for the reasons that somebody starts to meddle around and so on and so forth. Entire empires, the Roman Empire, one big fall or one big flaw. It was also a huge success in the way that they implemented their currency. Same with Alexander the Great, and how whenever he conquered a nation, he'd always implement his currency, and that gave him this real leverage factor. because people's value became tied to him, essentially, in the same way that the US is the Federal Reserve, the issuer of the world reserve currency. You know, money doesn't stop inflating, and that's why Bitcoin will recover and go on higher. And the fundamental reasons for it have never been so strong. Something like Ethereum. Now, we've been a big critic of Ethereum. I hold Ethereum, still hold Ethereum. I only sold half my bag to put into ADA. So I still hold a substantial amount of Ethereum. It's not even started doing what it was built to do yet. Smart contracts eliminate really any kind of third-party risk or involvement. You essentially have to trust a trustable system of doing things. You know, the scope for the value that can capture is insane. Same with Cardano, same with a lot of these cryptos. They've not even started on the journey that they were set upon. So how can I be anything but bullish on crypto? And what I do, same thing that I did back here over on August the 18th, 2020, and look at how the markets were reacting. They were selling off and everyone was panicking at $11,000 a Bitcoin. I mean, still with this pullback, Bitcoin's at $35,000. And at one point, it was at, bear with me guys, nearly $70,000. So nearly a 7x on your money, 6x on your money from there. And people were panicking back then. And in my opinion, down the road, people are going to be looking back at this moment in the same way that we were looking at it here. So that's really the bulk of what I've got for you. It's important. When I started this channel, you know, you can see the market's in extreme fear, almost rightly so. When I started this channel, I made you guys a promise that I'd be here through the good times and the bad, the bulls and the bears, and that's exactly what's going to happen. There are so many phony YouTubers out there. It's unbelievable. Some of them have thousands, hundreds of thousands of followers. You know, and somebody that's kind of within potentially some of those circles, I know a lot of what they're saying is complete BS. Lots of people today came out and said, "Oh, I told you so." You posted a video yesterday saying how bullish you are on the market. It doesn't work like that. Honesty is the best policy here, guys. Lots of people do say to me, "Okay, All in Crypto, you're extremely bullish. You've got this really bullish bias." Explaining everything that I've explained to you, explaining the sort of value that I think this space can capture. How on earth can I be anything other than bullish? I'm as bullish on crypto today as I was when I made this first video. Or, to be honest, back in 2017, I'll be totally honest, and I'm going to get a number of individuals that were with me in 2017 on the podcast, not the podcast, on the show to talk about some of our experiences. You know, lots of what happened. We were about when BitConnect took place and so on and so forth, even though I didn't personally indulge in that. I know a lot of people that did. So I didn't really understand what was taking place here, but this for me was a learning period and it rewarded me at the end. And you know, the reasons that I learned in the bear market that crypto was going to do so well, I'm proven to do that. Still exceptionally higher. I'm seeing a massive profits on a lot of my holdings, which is not saying to gloat. I'm saying that because, you know, the fundamentals have really carried this, and price is determined by the margin. What's traded back and forth on a daily basis, and you can see CoinShare, which is typically what institutions and regulated bodies will use to get exposure to crypto via a fund or a share, whatever you want to call it. We're seeing outflows, and we saw this last time. This is them going, okay, it's time to pull some risk off the table. And you're seeing that in the charts. They're not just doing it in crypto, they're doing it across the board within stocks. I mean, look at the gap there for Netflix. That is insane. Now, that their earnings weren't great, and other things came into account, but in an already risk-off volatile market, okay, the earnings aren't so great. Let's take some risk off the table. Applicable with the crypto space. So I hope everything that I'm saying, politics involved, Fed tightening involved, China, funnily enough, this is mind-blowing, are actually starting to stimulate a little bit with an interest rate decrease, with a rate decrease, which completely counterintuitive, but of course China can't gain really access to the cryptocurrency market, which is why we saw a lot of selling into the end of last year, which has subsided. But now we have a whole different beast to slay. But we will slay that beast, in my opinion. Crypto has a very bright future. If you guys want to partake on that journey with me, you're more than welcome. That is really all I have for you in this video, guys. Very important, certainly on days like today, that I don't hide, show my face, and give you my thoughts and opinions. And we're going to take this as it comes. I'm personally going to wait to see where the market... I did buy a little bit of Cardano, so I'd have been part of this wick. But I haven't really bought any other cryptos. Even Bitcoin may look like a buy to me at the price that it's in, as a bit of a stabler asset going forward. Ethereum, lots of altcoins that I want to get into at a huge discount. So that's really all I have for you in this video, guys. Don't panic. If you can afford to hodl, this is why you should never invest more than you can afford to lose. I'm all in crypto. It could go to zero and it would suck, but I'd go, okay, well, it's time to get back to the drawing board and reassess things and move on with my life. I'm young enough to do that. I'm not leveraged enough to do that, or I'm certainly not leveraged, so I can do that. But other people out there can't afford the same, or don't have the same privilege. So you should never invest more than you can afford to lose. And if you can't afford to hodl, then, you know, potentially this isn't the space for you, or you should certainly be putting really tight stop losses from when you actually enter your position. All I have for you in the video, guys, I'm going to love and leave you on that note. I'll see you later on in my Cardano video. I may do another couple of other videos. Leave me any questions, comments, thoughts, concerns in the comment section. I will get around to answering them, given the market conditions. And I'll catch you all in the next one, guys. Thank you very much for watching.